Thanks, sir.
Namah Shivaya.
Om
Om
Sadashiva-Samarambham
Shankaracharya
Shankaracharya-Madhyamam
Madhyamam
Asmadacharya-Paryamtam
Asmadacharya-Paryamtam
Vande
Vande Guru
Guru-Paramparam
Paramparam.
Om
Om
Sahana-Vavatu
Sahana Bhavatu Sahana
Sahana-Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu
Saha-Viryam
Sahaviryam
Karavavahai
Karavavahai
Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai
Vidvishavahai.
Om Shanti
Om Shanti
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 Shanti.
Shanti.
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Tat Sat.
Okay, so we are on verse number
26.
26. Okay, let us chant that. Sri Bhagavanuvāca
Shri Bhagavanuvāca
Kama Krodha Viyuktanam
Kamakrodha Viyuktanam
Yatinam Yata Chetasam
Yatinam Yatachetasa
Abhito Brahma Nirvanam
Abhito Brahma
Nirvanam
Nirvanam
Vartate Viditatmanam
Vartate Viditatmanam.
Okay, so first let's, as usual, look at the words. The breakup is Kama Krodha Viyuktanam Yata Chetasam Yatinam Vidita Atmanam Abhitaha Brahma Nirvanam Vartate. And the sentence formation can be Anvaya is Kama Krodha Viyuktanam Yata Chetasam Vidita Atmanam Yatinam Abhitaha Brahma Nirvanam Vartate. Viyuktanam, those people who are free from Kama Krodha, from desire and anger, and therefore only Yata Chetasam, Yata in the term of mastery, the usage of mastery. So Yata Chetasam, whose minds have been mastered, Vidita Atmanam, and who know themselves as the Atma, who know themselves as the Atma, as Brahman. Yatinam, for those people who have made proper efforts. So Yati here is effort. People who have made proper efforts. Brahma Nirvanam. Brahma Nirvanam is basically achievement of Brahman or Moksha. Vartate. Vartate is there is. So there is Brahma Nirvanam, there is Moksha. Abhitaha. Abhitaha means here and thereafter. So that we will see what that means. So a very nice verse talking about the various stages of spiritual growth. And look at the various words, they all indicate those stages. So rather than looking at them only as descriptions of words, we should look at them as actually giving an indicator of the various stages of my spiritual journey. The first one is Kama Krodha Viyuktanam. Kama is desire for acquiring things. Krodha is anger. When do I have an anger? When there is an obstacle in my desire for acquisition, in my activity for acquisition. Whenever there is an obstacle, then I'm angry. Therefore, either anger caused by an obstacle in acquiring the things which I want to acquire, or anger caused by the loss of things which I have already acquired. So all this is the meaning of Kama Krodha. and Viyuktanam. Viyukta means free from. The Nam means Yuktanam, that person who is free from anger caused by desire. So anger caused by either obstacles in fulfilling desires or because of loss of things which I have acquired. So when is this management of anger possible? So we have seen before that anger can be managed only when I have understood that the loss or acquisition of any object which I desire is not of any consequence to me. When is that understanding possible? When I understand that my happiness does not depend upon what I have or what I have lost, but it depends upon what I am. What I am is the crucial factor which decides my happiness, not what I have or what I don't have. And when this is understood, then only we will stop worrying about yoga and kshema. Yoga kshema is what? Acquisition and maintenance. So a worry for yoga in this word in this term it means acquiring things, and kshema, maintaining what I acquire, will be not there if I have understood that my happiness doesn't depend upon acquisitions or losses, but it depends upon what I am. If I have not understood this, like the majority of people, I will think that when I acquire more, I will be happy, and when I lose something, I will be unhappy. Therefore, my whole life is spent in yogaha, acquiring, kshemaha, maintaining, making sure that I don't lose anything which I have acquired. So this doesn't mean that you have to be totally careless about your possessions. You can take care of things to some extent, get some things, maintain those things, but the focus of your entire life cannot be this. You cannot dedicate your whole life to acquisitions and maintenance, to yoga and kshema. And if you don't want that, you should know how to manage your kama krodaha. So kama krodha vyuktanam is basically vairagyam only. This is the first stage, acquisition of dispassion, acquisition of vairagyam. Vairagyam is the first state before you can proceed any further on the spiritual path. And before vairagyam, what must come? Viveka must come, so that you can understand that acquisitions and possessions are not the primary criteria in your life. That understanding is viveka. From that understanding flows vairagyam. So kama krodha vyuktanam here represents vairagyam, the first stage. Then you look at the third word, yata chetasam. Chetasam, chetasa is the mind, yata is the effort. So those who have made an effort to organize their mind, to structure their mind, because mind is the instrument which I have along with my body to undertake my spiritual journey. And unless there is sufficient focus of mind, where is the question of being able to go along the spiritual path? I will not be able to pursue my spiritual objective if my mind is distracted. And therefore, if I have to proceed on this spiritual path successfully, my mind should be fit, my intellect should be fit, and this fit mind and fit intellect, they should be available when I want for my use. Very important. Whenever I need them, this fit mind and fit intellect should be available for my use. And that faculty of being able to pull out my mind and intellect for my use anytime I want, this is called yata chetasam. So an organized personality, an integrated personality. And this in Tattva we saw Samadhi Shatka Sampattihi or Samadhi Shatka Sampatti. That is the stage. The person who has those qualifications. Then the third stage is the second word, Yatinam. So Yati. So here Yati, remember the word Yati has another meaning also, popular meaning. What is that?
Sage.
No. There is a popular meaning of Yati. It is the abominable snowman.
Like a demon.
The snowman. The snowman was found, that's called the abominable snowman. So that is not the meaning here. Yati means sannyasi. Yati is the person who makes an effort. Sannyasi. Right? The literal meaning of the word yati in the dictionary, if you see, will be the one who is making an effort for moksha, and therefore he is sannyasi. And that is why sannyasa ashram is prescribed for exclusive pursuit of scriptural study. If you have decided that this is the only thing which I want, then the grahastha ashram is a problem for you because you have a lot of duties. But there are two ashramas in the four ashrama category where there is no duties. One is brahmacharya ashrama where you only have to study, and one is sannyasa ashrama also where you only have to study. So the ashrama dharma is so designed that brahmachari and sannyasis have no duties apart from pursuing the studies so that they can fully commit themselves to this pursuit. Therefore, sannyasi, yatinam means the person who is a sannyasi, who is 100% committed to the study of the scriptures. So remember that there are many people for whom scriptural study is also there. Like for all of us, most of us at least, we have our professions, we have bankers, we have painters, we are actors, we are housewives, we are people who are doing work. I'm earning money, I will be doing all these things, and also I will be doing Vedantic study. Now, the thing is that what is the priority for me? Do I drop my class the moment somebody comes into my house, or when some social function is there? Which is my priority? Do I adjust all my work around my classes? Do I make sure that every day I spend at least a couple of hours thinking about what I have studied? If so, then my top priority is moksha and jnanam. Then I am a yati. But if my study is, subsidiary, and it is taken up only when I have free time, then I am not a yati. It doesn't fit into the definition of the yati over here. So the primary meaning of yati is sannyasi. So mukhya artha, primary meaning is sannyasi. Then there is something called a gauna artha, the figurative meaning, the secondary meaning. Here you have to connect it to kama krodha viyuktanam. The gauna artha of yati is the person who has managed his raga dvesha. Okay. Then we look at viditatmanam, the last word of the sloka. So viditatmanam is a person who has undertaken a systematic and consistent study of Vedanta for a sufficient length of time under the guidance of a competent Acharya. Each word is extremely important. Systematic, consistent, for a length of time of a Vedantic scriptures under the guidance of a competent Acharya. Consistent because it cannot be that he comes for one class, spends 3 classes away, comes back for the 4th class whenever he has free time. That is why consistent study of what? Vedantic scriptures only. Because consistent study can be of physics and maths also. But that is not Jnana Yoga. So here Jnana Yoga consists of consistent study, week after week, hour after hour, day after day, and systematic study. It cannot be that one day I come to chapter 1 of Bhagavad Geeta, the other day I come to chapter 17 of Bhagavad Geeta, I listen to one Acharya for chapter 1 and 2 Acharyas for chapter 17 and 18, and I am totally confused. The teaching is unfolded in a particular manner, starting from chapter 1 going up to chapter 18. Therefore, I must go through all the classes, however many they are. And therefore, that is systematic study, consistent study, and for sufficient length of time. I can't be taking capsule courses. So, a long period of time, which is why, if you look at our courses, the Bhagavad Gita class lasts for something like 5 to 6 years. At least 300 to 350 classes are there. Consistent length of time. Why? So that my intellect can soak in the knowledge. Something like the pickles soaking in the sauce. Therefore, my intellect lies in that knowledge for year after year, month after month, day after day. Slowly, the jnanam soaks into my every cell. And under the guidance of a competent Acharya, which means a person who has also had an Acharya so that he knows how to teach. And that Acharya must have not only the knowledge that he has been taught, he must also be convinced that he is Brahman. Without that, he is not a competent Acharya. And the one who has done all this systematic, consistent study of Vedanta for a sufficient length of time under the guidance of a competent Acharya, he has completed Jnana Yoga. And whoever has done that, he is a sannyasi. So, Vidit Atmana, the one who has undergone all these stages. And this systematic study will lead to what? Clear knowledge. And that person who has the clear knowledge is called Vidit Atma. Vidit Atma means Jnani. And because of this clear knowledge, what happens? Brahma Nirvanam Vartate. They have oneness with Brahman. Many words are used: reach Brahman, know Brahman, acquire Brahman, go to Brahman. Ultimately, the meaning has to be understood as knowing that I and Brahman are not different. That I am the same with Brahman. Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam is what is mentioned by, what is meant by Brahma Nirvanam Vartate. And that knowledge that I am with Brahman is when Abhitaha. So Abhitaha means both, here and hereafter, which means during my lifetime and after my lifetime of this body, which means what? Jivan Mukti and Vidan Mukti are both indicated by the word Brahma Nirvanam Abhitaha. Okay. Now we'll chant the next two verses together because they are connected closely. So 27 and 28 we will chant. Please unmute yourself and let us chant. Sparshan Kritva Bahirbahyan Chakshuschaivantare Bhruvoh Pranapanau Samo Kritva Nasabhyantaracharinau. Yatendriya Mano Buddhi Munirmoksha Parayanaha Vigatechabhaya Krodaha Yasada Mukta Eva Saha. Okay, so the words will be Sparshan Kritva. Just let me mute you all so that there is no disturbance. Sparshan Kritva Bahihi Bahyan. So please look at the word breakups carefully. Sparshan, na with a halant, Kritva. Bahihi, Bahi with the visarga, Bahihi, Bahyan, Chakshuhu, Cha Eva antare bhruvoho pranapano samau kritva nasabhyantara charinau yata indriya mano buddhihi munihi moksha parayanaha vigata ichha bhaya krodha yaha sada mukta eva saha. So I'll give you the anvaya of both the verses together because it is one long sentence actually, both the sentence. That's why we chanted them together and taking them together for meaning also as well as for the anvaya also. The anvaya bahyan parshan bahihi kritva, comma. Bahyan sparshan bahihi kritva chakshuhu cha bhruvoho antare eva. You can put in brackets, in brackets you can add over there the verb kritva, comma, nasa abhyantara charinau prana apanau samau kritva, comma, yah munihi yata indriya manasa buddhihi moksha parayanaha vigata ichha bhaya krodha, comma, saha sada mukta eva, full stop. Long sentence. So, bahyan sparshan, the external vishayas. Sparshan is vishayas, sense objects. Bahyan sparshan, external sense objects. Bahihi kritva, keeping them external only. So, keeping the external objects external, meaning all objects outside you must be kept outside you. And chakshuhu, the eyes, bhruvo antare eva, keep between the eyebrows. Bhruvo is the eyebrows. Chakshuhu bhruvo antare eva. Literally, antare means within. But since you cannot put the eyes into the eyebrows, the antare has to be understood as what? Between. So, chakshuhu bhroho antare eva, keeping the eyes within the eyebrows, and pranaha apanau, the breath, the exhalation and the inhalation. Where must you keep? Nasa abhyantara charinau. Exhalation and inhalation. Charino means to move. So let the breath, the inhalation and the exhalation, the outgoing breath and the incoming breath, let it move nasa abhyantaraha, within the nostrils. Not only that, again, the prana apana, the inhalation and exhalation, samau kritva, keep them equal. They should be, the inhalation time should also be the same as the exhalation time. Having done all this, yaha munihi, that sage, that rishi, that sadhaka, and what is the status? Yataha indriya manasa buddhihi, who has mastered the indriyas, the sense organs, the manas, the mind, and buddhi, the intellect, and moksha parayanaha, having moksha as the parayanaha, as the ultimate destination, and furthermore, vigataha, free from ichha bhaya krodaha, desire, fear, and anger. What happens? Saha sadamukta eva. That sadhaka is always liberated. Remember, he is not saying that he will get liberated. Very, very, very important little line, often missed by us. He is always liberated. He has been, he will be, and he is liberated. Okay, so the Jnanam topic was over with the verse number 26, and Krishna is introducing one more topic. And this topic is basically the seed, the bija for the entire chapter 6. And in this 3 verses, he talks about Nididhyasanam and the results. And what is he saying? He is saying Nididhyasanam is necessary for the digestion of the Gita teaching. Okay. Now a question should have occurred. In the 5th chapter, what did we talk about? We also talked about Nididhyasanam. Then why does the 6th chapter talk about Nididhyasanam? Because there are 2 types of Nididhyasanam. One is called Brahma Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasana, and one is called Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasana. So these 2 terms one should remember. If those of you who have studied the Drik, Drishya, Viveka, listen to those lectures, would have come across these words. Brahma Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasanam and Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasanam. So Brahma Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasanam is what? It's a constant awareness of the teaching that I am Brahman. It's a 24/7. No formal posture is required. You don't need to sit in cross-legged position. You don't need to sit down. You don't need to close your eyes. You don't need to close your ears. Only the constant awareness should be there that I am Brahman, which is what? A very deliberate attempt to stay what is in our language we call binary format. A very deliberate attempt to stay in the binary format 24/7/365. What is binary format, incidentally? Anybody?
Atma.
Atma Anatma.
Atma Anatma.
Okay, but translated into a longer
I
sentence.
and Jagat.
Sorry?
There is only I and Jagat.
There is only I and Jagat. There is I, the Atma, and there is Jagat, which is Mithya. That is the binary format. Okay, which is meaning that this Jagat is in me, and therefore, really speaking, there is I alone. That is called the binary format. So, no formal posture required. You can be doing anything. You can be teaching, you can be playing tennis, you can be watching a movie. At the back of your mind, this refrain should be running that I am Brahman alone. That is called the Brahma Rupa, Brahma Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasana. Whereas, what is Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasanam? That is what we see in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, the entire Ashtanga, starting from asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, etc. The whole 8 angas are involved. Formal posture. It's a withdrawal from activity and sitting down at a specific time, at a specific place to meditate upon the teaching. Who is the adhikari? Who is the person who is eligible for these 2 different types of meditation? If your prarabdha is good, if you have had sufficient exposure to, because your prarabdha is good, you have had sufficient exposure to Vedanta. And of course, it goes without saying that there are not too many family and professional problems in your life. Then for you, it is easy to arrange your life so that at all times, you are not far away from the teaching. That is called Brahma Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasana, and that is sufficient for you. You don't need to do formal Samadhi Rupa. But most people have a life which is riddled with problems. There are hundreds of problems in life, family problems, professional problems, personal problems. And yet, something is there, some favorable prarabdha is there, because of which you have come to Shastra. But because of all these distractions in their lives, they are not able to maintain the teaching 24/7 for them, they need specific time allocation for this. And therefore, for them, Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa becomes necessary. Why? Because of all these distractions, you have a lot of subconscious issues. Viparita Bhavana, what we call, to deal with. All habitual thinking patterns to deal with. That is there. And therefore, this chapter which we are just completing, this dealt with Brahma Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasanam. How do you know? Which verse of this chapter tells you that this chapter was dealing with Brahma Abhyasa Rupa, 24/7 Nididhyasanam?
18.
What is the verse?
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne
No.
Brahma.
No.
No.
Anybody?
Six.
20.
27 Acharya.
No, don't give verse
20.
numbers. Quote.
Sarvanindriya Karmani
Nope.
Prani Karma.
No. Which verse is telling you that whatever you are doing, you should remember that you are Brahman?
Oh, 40. Na kartritvam na karmani lokasya.
Nope. Asyan sunman prashan jagram, ashtan
26.
gachan swapan prashapan, pralapan visrajan granam, unnisham nimishan napi. What does it mean? Whatever I am doing, seeing, hearing, touching, whatever I am doing, eating, sleeping, everything, I don't forget that I am Brahman. Which verse is it? It is number 8 and no, it is number 9. Verse number 9. 8 and 9 actually. 8 is the first line is important.
8.
Naiva kinchit karomi yuktaha manyet tatvatah. Whatever I do, I remember always that I am not doing anything. I am Brahman. And therefore, from that extract, what Krishna is saying in this chapter is that you should always remember that you are Brahman. That is why he says, Naiva kinchit karomi iti. I am not doing anything. I should. Manyet tattvavit. That is the understanding of the sadhaka. Which means what? I am Brahman means, that is what he's saying. When you say that I am not doing anything, there is only one entity which doesn't do anything. Because it is incapable of doing anything, and that is Brahman. And therefore, there is no choice regarding this Brahma Abhyasa Rupa. If you are a sadhaka, you have to do it. That is the 5th chapter. Now in the 6th chapter, Krishna deals with Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa, the formal meditation posture. Most of us, when we say meditation, we are talking about Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa. But Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa is a compromised version. You can start with that. But if you stay with that, then you have not really progressed. So from there, you start with that if necessary, but you have to progress to Brahma Abhyasa Rupa, which means 24/7, the understanding that I am Brahman, I don't do anything. Whatever is being done is done by the body alone. And Shankaracharya in his commentary says that in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th chapters, Krishna has dealt with Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga consists of what? Shravanam and Maranam. And in the 6th chapter, the name of which is Dhyana Yoga, he deals with Nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam is called Dhyana Yoga in chapter number 6. Karma Yoga is what? Bahiranga Sadhanani, external discipline. Jnana Yoga is Antaranga Sadhanani, internal discipline. What does the sadhana do? It drives the knowledge from my conscious mind into my subconscious mind. Why is that so important? Because every reaction in your life comes from the subconscious mind. At least most of the reactions come from the subconscious mind alone. When you get angry, when you get jealous, when you get depressed, is it a deliberate action or a non-deliberate action? If it is a conscious action, it is from your conscious mind. If it's an unconscious action, it means it is coming without your acceptance, without your invoking it when it is coming. You don't try to get angry. You don't try to get depressed. You don't try to get jealous. It happens. When you say it happens, it is not a conscious action. And therefore, you are not using your conscious mind. But the driver of that action is what? Your subconscious mind. But today, when you think about the Gita teaching, Naiva kinchit karomi iti, where is that knowledge? It is in the conscious mind alone. And it is not there in the subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is now a knowledgeable mind, an aware mind. But your subconscious mind remains the same. That ignorant, doubting entity, it remains. And since all your reactions come from that ignorant subconscious mind, your negative emotions, depression, jealousy, anger, all these things continue to arise. Therefore, the knowledge sitting in your conscious mind is not going to transform you. It has given you information, but there is no transformation. To transform you, that you have to do something which will push that knowledge into your subconscious mind, so that even unconsciously, when some reaction happens, that is based on the Gita teaching. So, we often give the example of, supposing you come to my house, and I give you coffee. And then you say, Raviji, this coffee is not sweet. And I'll say, no, I did add 1 spoon of sugar in it. Why is the coffee not sweet?
Not stirred.
Not
The
stirred.
sugar has not
stirred.
been stirred.
Oh, exactly. It is not that sugar is not present. Sugar is there. But the coffee is not going to be sweet unless it is stirred. So knowledge is there in your mind, but that knowledge is not going to give you benefit unless it is stirred. And therefore this sloka says, Pranau Pranau Samo Kritva. Your inhalation and exhalation. Samo here means even relaxed. Because the condition of the mind and the condition of the breathing, they are interconnected, we know. That is why we do pranayama. Anuloma viloma is meant for what? To regulate your mind by breathing. And nasa abhyantara charinau, that breath should be moving in your nostrils. Chakshush chaivantare bhruvo, the chakshuhu should be between the eyebrows. Meaning what? Not looking outwards. And chakshuhu here, the eye, is upalakshanam. It is a generic term representing all the sense organs. Therefore, this chakshush chaivantare bravoho should not be taken only as the eye kept between the eyebrows. It should be taken as none of the sense organs should be looking outwards. They should all be directed inwards. You should close your sense organs to the external world, which we call pratyahara. And then bahyan sparshan bahihi kritva. Remove all the sense objects, bahyan sparshan, from your mind. Do not think of any external object. And here object includes relationships. So don't think of your wife or your husband or your children or your father or your mother or your teacher. Drop all of them. Renounce all of them. For this period, mentally become a sannyasi. And Krishna doesn't say, but you should add, you have to also meditate. Okay. Now, that was the 27th verse. Now let's look at the 28th verse. Yata indriya mano buddhihi, one should withdraw all the sense organs from the external world. Indriya is of course sense organs, manaha is mind, buddhi is intellect. Yata means to control. And therefore, pull out withdraw all the sense organs from the external world so that they are available for the job at hand, which is what? Nididhyasana. And having pulled out the mind means your mind should be vigata ichha bhaya krodha. Emotional disturbances caused by desire, fear, and anger should not be there. Because as long as these are there, you may be sitting with the eyes closed, but you will sit and only burn within. And therefore, get rid of all these inner emotions by doing pratyahara, by turning your mind away from objects. And if you can do that, Munihi moksha parayanaha. That Munihi, that meditator, should parayanaha. So para ayanaha. Para is supreme. Ayanaha is the residence which you have seen Tattva. Parayana means your supreme state. So that Munihi, the meditator, should focus on moksha. The supreme state of the meditator should be focusing on your own nature as revealed in the scriptures. And if you remain in that teaching for long enough, Munihi, you are the one who remains in meditation. So Munihi means Mananath Munihi. The one who remains in meditation is a Munihi. Moksha Parayanaha. For him, it is the ultimate state. It is the ultimate priority for him. And if you can do that, Sada Sahamuktaha Eva, that person is always free. Even today, he is free. This is the Jnana Phalam, which means the teaching will have been assimilated, which means this teaching, Krishna's teaching, will be available to you every moment of your life, even in your worst crisis. Krishna torch will be in your hand. You only have to switch it on. Now the last verse. We'll chant the last verse and the closing lines also. So please unmute yourself. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam
Bhoktaram tapasam
sarvaloka maheshwaram
Maheshwaram
suhridam sarvabhutanam
Suhritam Sarvabhutanam
Yatva mam shanti mricchati iti Srimad Bhagavad Geetasu Upanishatsu
Srimad-Bhagavatasu Upanishatsu
Brahma Vidyayam Yogashastre
Brahma-vidyam Yoga-shastre
Krishna Arjuna Samvade Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nama Panchamodhyayaha.
Shri
Shri
Krishna Arjuna
Krishna Arjuna
Samvade
Samvade Karma Sanyasa Yoga Panchamodhyaya.
Okay, so with the words Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Yatva Mam Shantim Rachati. And the Anvaya is Yajna Tapasam Bhoktaram Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Sarva Bhutanam Suhridam Mam Gyatva Shantim Rachati. So, Yajna Tapasam Bhoktaram. Bhoktaram is experiencer. The experiencer, the receiver of Yajna and Tapas, of all Yajnas, all rituals, and all Tapas, all austerities. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, the Lord of all the worlds, of all the universes. Maha Ishwaram, the limitless Lord. Sarva Bhutanam, Suhradam. Suhradam means friend. So, friend of all living beings. Sarva Bhutanam Suhradam. Who is the friend of all living beings? Maheshwaram. Maheshwaram, the limitless Lord, Sarvabhutanam Suhradam, is the friend of all living beings. Mam Gyatva. So know me as the friend of all living beings. Know me as Maheshwaraha, the limitless Lord. Know me as the one who receives all the prayerful, all the yajnas and tapasas, all the prayers and tapasa which all beings do. I am the receiver of all that. And I am Maheshwaraha Sarvalokaha. I am the Lord of all the worlds. If you know me in this manner, Mam Gyatva, knowing me in this manner, Shantim Vrichati. Vrichati means attains or gets. He gets Shantim. The Shanti here is Mokshaha. He attains Mokshaha. And therefore, having said in the last two verses that you should meditate, he says, what should you meditate upon? And he supplies the answer here. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam mam. To meditate upon me, the Lord, as the Atma. And what is the Atma? Is yourself. Unless you meditate upon me as yourself, there is no possibility of moksha. And Madhusudana Saraswati, in his commentary, he adds, as long as you see Ishvara as an object, there will be no moksha at all for you. What is the proof? He says, Arjuna himself, he has got Krishna right in front of his eyes. And yet, having Krishna right in front of his eyes, in chapter 1, what does he do? He experiences extreme samsara. And this is why Krishna tells Arjuna, meditate upon me, but meditate upon me as your own self. And what is that self? Therefore, he provides this description. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam, who is the receiver of all the pujas. In other words, who is the object of worship of yajna and tapasaha. Sarva loka maheshwaram, who is the ultimate Lord of the entire creation. And Shankara says here, Sarva loka maheshwaram must be taken as Sarva karma phala adhyakshaha, as the one who gives the fruits, the karma phalam of all karma, is meant by Sarva loka maheshwaram. And Suhridam. Suhridam really literally means a pure-hearted one. The one who helps others without expectation of anything in return. Why is Ishvara Suhridam? Because he provides you with three things: Sat, Chit and Ananda. Therefore, Sarvabhutanam Mam. Shankara adds here, remember that this Ishvara is located in the heart, Hridayam of all beings. And when he says Sarvabhutanam Mam, I am there in all living beings, Shankara says this is to make you understand that don't look upon Ishvara as something different from you, but look upon him as your own self. And that is why in your own heart he is there. And Gyatva, so knowing, understanding in this manner, meditating upon me as your own self, Shantim Richati, you will attain peace of mind. Shantim literally here means Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. This three verses in nutshell is the entire essence of the next chapter. And each of these words we'll be seeing in great detail in the next chapter, will be elaborated in the next chapter. So with this, chapter 6 is over. Chapter 5 is over. Any questions?
Om Acharya Ji,
Yes, John.
in verse number 27,
Yes.
we say that the prana and apana should be equally,
Yeah.
but that equally refers like the inhalation and exhalation time is the same, or means to stop the breath completely.
It means equally. If you are inhaling 4, exhale 4.
Okay, so it's not about kumbhaka.
It's not about kumbhaka. Kumbhaka is not mentioned here.
Okay, thank you.
Kumbhaka is mentioned somewhere else, but not here.
Acharya.
Yeah.
So I understand the Brahma Abhyasa Rupa, throughout the day you see Brahman in everything, but the Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa, so how do you meditate on Brahman when you are in the Samadhi, even also you're breathing? So how do you have the
Whatever you are doing in Brahma Abhyasa Rupa is the same thing you do in Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa. See, here, 6th chapter assumes that you have understood that you are Brahman. It assumes that you understood the teaching. Once the teaching is understood, then only Nididhyasana makes any sense. If you are not 100% convinced that you are Brahman, without any doubt, samshaya rahita jnanam, you are not ready for Nididhyasana. And therefore, once you have understood that you are Brahman, what is required is that you should keep reminding yourself. And Brahma Abhyasa Rupa is, if you have the prarabdha to be able to do that all the time, that is good. But if you don't have that, you are a beginner, or if you have disturbances, then you need specific time to yourself where there are no disturbances, and early morning, 4 to 6 perhaps, you can do this meditation. That is.
So yes, Acharya. So does that mean you sit quiet and then do you repeat this Mahavakya Maham Brahmasmi, or how is that?
That's what I'm saying. If you understand, you have to just recall the teaching. And there are so many Nididhyasana granthas. In the Vivek Sudhamani, there are some 40 odd verses. You have many small little works also. Any one of them you can take. In fact, even the 2nd chapter you can take. And from verse number 12 to 25, you can chant, but replacing Atma with me.
Absolutely. Right. Oh, so it's the meaning while you...
It is the meaning. It is basically nothing but the conviction that I am Brahman. That is what you're trying to do. And then you can ask yourself, if I am Brahman, why am I upset at these things? And then you try to figure out what is it that is bothering you.
Got it, Acharya. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you for your patience. This will end the day. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Acharya ji.
Thank you.